All right, welcome to another episode of Investing Keto. I have my co-host here, Jeremy. Hey, Jeremy, how are you today?
I'm well. How are you doing?
Right, I'm doing excellent. It's been quite an interesting week. So, let's just kind of do a little recap and share with the
Yeah.
audience, what you're up to and what I've been up to. So let's kind of start out with you because I know we just got
Sure.
off just before we turn on the camera here, just kind of give a little audience what you've been up to and what you're doing.
So for me, I've been working on a master's degree since September of 2020. It's a master's of arts and counseling through Westminster Seminary in Philadelphia. So I've been taking it remote, online, and I first started when I got married. So I got married. I started September, got married November of 2020. And so ever since my wife and I've been married, I've been in a master's program, taking classes, working full time at the same time. So going to work, coming home, working more on papers, studies. And this week I just finished up my second to last term. So I finished all my papers and final and all that exam and all that stuff. And I just have one more term to go and I should graduate in May. So I'm really looking forward to being done. And it's been, as far as like how it applies to business and life, it's been good just to be disciplined and like, um, obviously, I asked since I'm a youth pastor, I asked my students, so what do you most hate about school? And all of them say like math, homework, learning. I wish they just made us play more. I wish we had longer lunches. And I was like, you guys should be lifelong learners. And I think that's been instilled in me now as 29, finishing a master's degree before I'm 30. And it's like, I just want to be a lifelong learner. And I think you do that as well, really well. And when we talk with investors and other business owners, people are just always learning and they're always learning new things and they never stop learning. I think that's one skill that business owners have. They self-develop, they learn, they grow, they learn new skills. They're always doing new things. They're never stagnant. Um, One law of the teacher is that if you stop learning, you stop growing. And you don't want to be a stagnant, dirty pond. You want to be a flowing river of knowledge coming in and going out of you. And so I think that's one thing I've really taken away from this, like finishing up, wrapping up. Like I'll get a pay increase, I'll get a different title at my job, and that'll be good. But like always learning is something that's been really valuable because you
Hmm.
always are learning. I always hear about something you're learning, or like the thing you talked about a couple of weeks ago that you're learning how to do rezoning and development and like raising capital and all these things. So, do
Yeah,
you find that true? Like
it's
you're always learning?
oh, absolutely. It's interesting. Like when we were younger, you could think back when you're like in like elementary school. You think, gosh, man, I can't wait to be done with school, right? I
Mhm.
can't wait for like Christmas break or whatever break. Like you're always looking for the next thing, and it just seems like it's like it just seems so long. Like, man, I can't wait to be done. Can't wait to graduate, be done. I don't have to study, right? That
Mhm.
was that was what I was thinking. Like, oh man. But as you know, as we get older and especially starting in business, we realize that actually learning learning is fun, right? And it's like never ending. I'm
Mhm.
always learning new things. I mean, and that's why, I go and take courses. I go to seminars or being around other people. So constantly learning, always be learning, right? And I
Mhm.
think you hit it on spot. It's just I think learning is a lifelong pursuit, right? Something we're always going to be, something we're always going to be doing because we get value. Like you said, if you aren't learning, you're not growing and you become stagnant.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I know you've been doing um, your program for about 3 years. So, was there a time where things just got really tough for you and you're like, man, like, why am I even doing this? I mean, want to share that with us?
I think that one time when it was really, really tough, I was working full time at my job as like the warehouse manager. I was working part time at the church and I was like running youth ministry. So that was like another part time job. And then on top of that, I was taking, I think like one course or two courses, like 6 credits in 10 weeks, which is like, it's in terms. So it's in quarters, not semesters. So that's a pretty heavy load. Like you're full time at that point. And that was rough. And we're about to give birth and we also bought a house and we also, um, like we're moving out and like that was like first time home buyer, you're like, oh man, is this like the right decision? And then I have a paper due the same week we close or something like that. And then I like start the next term when right as my son is like a month old. like it's just life, I guess, like trying to handle all the complexities of life and like everything you can't control while you're still trying to just do the best you can. Then you just kind of just learn how to survive and learn like the minimum effective dose of what to do to get things done, right? And I think that just grows your skill because you're forced into a way like you just have to cram it all on Saturday, or you have to do everything you have to watch your lectures at 2 speed. You have to do there's like just submit the best I can at that time. It's like C's are good, C's and B's, those are fine. Like I think learning that, just trying to roll with the punches, maybe, because
Hmm.
then it's like ever since then it's not gotten easier. We have 2 kids now, we have 2 rental properties, we have a business, and I'm finishing up 9 credits in 9 weeks. So that's like a last big push for me. So probably just learning how to do it and like use every minute, be efficient, uh, you know, be flexible, I think is one, because problems always come up and things are always due when you least expect them. So just that problems. You always have problems and you're always trying to solve problems.
Right. Yes. And the thing is, like when you like you solve a problem, your ability to solve problems, it expands, right? And then
Hmm.
the things that used to be a problem before is no longer a problem, right? You look back, it's
Hmm.
like, oh man, that's easy because you've already, you built the skills, you got the mindset to really be able to manage. So now when you have like there's always, like I said, there's always gonna be problems. Like there's always gonna be problems in your life. Like it never ends, right? I think the day you don't have any problems is when you're dead.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
and then people say like, oh man, I hate problems. But the thing is, at the same time, it's those problems that actually will help us grow, right?
Yeah.
And and if we don't solve, if we keep having the same problems, that what just means we haven't learned yet. We haven't learned how to solve that problem. So we're going to continue to get those problems, and then once we solve it, then we can move on to the next set, right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
so it's like a math problem. Like if you don't get this math problem, you keep doing it, you still get the same answer because it's the wrong answer. But once you get it right, once you solve it, it's like, okay, boom, now you can move on.
Hmm.
So,
Have you had that as well? Because you have tons of problems still. I mean,
oh yes.
you have 6 figures plus coming in every single year from your rentals, and like you're doing well, but like you still have problems, right? Like your life's not easy.
Oh yeah, it's not, oh, it's not easy. There's always other problems come out. I remember, I mean even just recently, when I have big problems with my rental, like I know that I won't give up, but it's like, man, I have all this. I'm not sure if I think I shared this with you before, but you know, when I started acquiring all these properties and I had somebody else managing my rentals for me, I
Hmm.
mean, there was a period where I was missing a massive amount of income, right? And and um and so I let go of that property manager, but it's like now it took me like almost 6 months just to go back and unwind because, uncollected rents, going through the eviction process, and things that I really had to learn. And yes, I could have paid an attorney to do it, and it would have been expensive. But like, you know what? Well, let me take this and let me start the process, right?
Hmm.
And especially with the eviction, because when you have rentals, um, there's going to be a period where you're going to have and where you can go through an eviction, right? It's not
Hmm.
if, it's like it's when, right? And speaking of eviction, I'll kind of share with you guys the process, right? Like before, I didn't know anything, was just so intimidating, but what I realized is if they don't pay, first step is you send them a 3-day pay or vacate. So basically, for us, we give our tenants like a 5-day grace period. Like, hey, if you don't pay after
Hmm.
the fifth, we're gonna hit you with with the notice. So by the sixth or the seventh, we hand out a 3-day pay or vacate, and it's 3 business days. And in the state of Montana, you you can hand deliver it, and you could send it in the mail. And so what I did was I would post on door and I would take a picture of it. And I'm even adding another layer. I also send it in the mail, but what I do is I do a certificate of mailing.
Hmm.
So basically what that means is it's just a letter that you pay like $1 or something for it. And it basically states that you sent the letter out at this date. And then
Hmm.
once you send it out, you wait 3 days and then you count into three. So basically like 6 days. So I basically have a backup. I post it so I know, or I hand deliver it. Then I
Hmm.
also send it so I can get a receipt. And
Hmm.
so,
Hmm.
and if they don't respond, then I can initiate after the 3 day business day period. We go through what's called then you start to file a summons and complaint. So basically just a fancy term saying, hey, look, I am serving you that, you haven't paid rent. This is how much you owe. And then please, please pay. So I basically send that. There's a paperwork that you fill out. It's not as intimidating as it seems to be, but you just
Hmm.
just follow the process. You hand that into the court. You show them proof that you sent them a 3 day notice, and then you write out how much they owe, and then it gets served. Once they serve, that's officially okay. Now the clock starts. The tenant has 5 business days to respond to you. Okay.
Hmm.
And when they respond, they have to go to the court, respond to the court, and then the court sends a response back to you. So, so from there, if they don't respond, right? If they don't respond, then you can get a default, which is what I love. I don't have to. I'd rather not have them respond, and then they issue a default, and it's another process. You file for default, the court signs off on it, then you can then that paperwork take it to the sheriff, and they can physically get the tenants out.
Mm.
Okay. If they
Wow.
do respond, then the court sets a hearing. It's usually a week or two out, most likely like 2 weeks out. So that's extended time,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And then they would say, hey, they respond saying he's a bad landlord, he didn't do this, whatever their excuse is, right? And
Hmm.
then the court date is set, you go to court, and then the court will hear your complaint, and then they'll ask the tenant, and then the court will decide, okay, is this, like, do you have a lease, whether it's written or verbal. um you could establish that, yeah. I There's times where I have tenants where I inherited and didn't have a lease, so it was just a verbal lease. So they have verbal lease, but they've been paying me, they haven't been paying. The judge will ask, how much is the rent? This is how much what the rent is. And then the tenant, um, they they will prove their case, like, yeah, he's a bad landlord, he didn't do this or he didn't do that, or did you pay or did you not pay? Right? If you didn't pay, you're out. Sometimes the tenant will they use up an excuse. Oh, the hot water was not working. He didn't fix this in a timely manner, whatever. Um, Even though that could be a valid complaint, but the main thing is that um, they violated lease by not paying the rent.
Hmm.
And so, and if that's the case, the judge will say, okay, well, you need to pay rent. Or if there's an instance where one of my properties is horrible condition, and it took me a while to get its stuff repaired, and the judge gave them like a couple months of free rent, which is fine, free rent, but you still owe for for this time. So
Wow.
so that's kind of like the process in like a brief
Mhm.
synopsis, right? You have any
And all
questions? I
and
know you
all
have a
of that.
couple rentals, so
Well, and all of that is funny because like you have to go just learn that yourself. Like no one's telling you. Maybe you can go find some YouTube videos, except for right here, like you're telling us how to do it, but like you have to go figure
right.
that all out yourself. You have to probably Google things and like call the courts and call the courthouse and like talk to other landlords and be like, what's the process? And
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had anything like that yet. Um, we've had decent relationships with our tenants, which has been good. Um, so I haven't had like Lord willing that wouldn't happen soon, but I know that is coming, right? Eventually when
Right.
you have things
Yes.
like that. So
Yeah.
that's rough.
Yeah, it is. And then the thing is, like, I just got done doing an eviction this week. And honestly, I mean, it's sad for me because I don't really want to kick them out. I'd rather them just pay the rent,
Hmm.
right? And this is a older lady, she's in her 60s. Her her daughter is staying with her as well. I mean, an adult daughter, right? And they they I they literally, when we kicked them out, we gave them a couple of days. I mean, and I was generous, like, okay, well, I'll give you a couple of days to move. Normally, like I could just like kick them out that day, be gone. But I said, look,
Hmm.
I'll give you guys a couple of days to move, get your stuff out. And so I gave them those couple of days. They they still had their stuff moved out. I said, okay, I've been, I've been pretty generous, so it's really time to just get out. So they got their stuff out, but the thing was, they've they end up coming back because they still had their stuff in front of the apartment,
Mm.
and they were sleeping outside.
Oh man.
I know, and because I was pulling up because we got to go in and clean out the unit, and she was in front of the house and literally outside with the blankets and stuff covering her head. I just
Mm.
feel bad. And and it's not like she didn't. I mean, it's also had to do with choices as well, right?
Hmm.
Because she had the choice to pay rent or to not pay rent, and she decided not to pay rent. And I mean, because I think I know she uses drugs, right? So
Hmm.
unfortunately, that is what gets them in that situation that they're in, right?
Hmm.
Instead of paying
Hmm.
rent, they're using the money for drugs. So, but yeah, I definitely feel bad for her. I mean, ladies in the 60s just sleeping outside, but we had to call the sheriff to escort her out of the property.
Mm.
And and as a landlord, I don't enjoy evicting tenants. I do not. I'd
Hmm.
rather have them just. I don't even like collecting late fees. Uh, but the thing is, like, I just want you to pay your rent. I don't really want you to pay late fees. I just want you to pay your rent, and that's it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, so that's kind of what I kind of dealt with through this week is just that process of like just going through. And I try to work with her. Like I do try to work with people. Like, okay, even though I send out the 3-day pay or vacate, if they give me some money, right? It's like, okay. I mean, they say that when you do that, you're not supposed to take any money, right? They say
Hmm.
like just cut it off, don't take any money, you have to start the eviction process over. But don't do what I do, but you could just go through the process. But I do try to work. I do try to work with my tenant. Sometimes they'll text me like, "Hey, I'm gonna be late this month. I'll pay half today. Half today, and then the other half when I get paid in 2 weeks." And I will usually accept that. My policies, I will not let them get more than 1 month behind,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? So I'll try to work with them, and then if if that's not working out, then I really just move forward with the process because if they're 2-3 months, it just hurts you, right? Because you
Hmm.
never
Yeah.
like I've lost literally, I think I told you off air, like literally thousands and thousands of dollars of just uncollected rents, and I'm not going to see that,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So, I mean, imagine if you go like, even if it's 6,000 a month, you times that by three, I mean, it adds up, across your portfolio. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And as you're doing all that stuff, like you're dealing with people, and probably the hardest jobs are people related. And I think a lot of investors, me included, at times it's like, all right, I'm gonna start a business, I'm gonna make some money, it's gonna cash flow, like we're gonna be good. And then it's like all of a sudden you have to start dealing with customers, with people, with tenants,
Hmm.
with people who are in the worst spots of their lives, like doing drugs, sleeping on the porch in the cold, like it's below freezing right now in Montana. And it's like, yeah, you have to deal with, not deal with, you have to like really work with those people and really, it's hard. You're working with some of the hardest situations in their life, and it's not fun, and it's a skill that
Right.
you have to learn. So if no one is I think a book you have to read. It's on my shelf. It's How to Win Friends and Influence People. I think
Yes,
that's
great
like
book.
the best book on like people skills, things to think about with other people. And like if you haven't read that, you got to go read it. It's like a key for your education for for relationships.
Yeah, for sure. And I think too, like, we talk about, investings. Of course, there's lots of numbers involved and things, but at the end of the day, it's about relationships and people,
Hmm.
right? Because when I'm out there, for example, I'm meeting with the seller, right? I'm building that relationship because oftentimes, like, why would somebody want to give me one of their most, you know, um, biggest asset that they own, right? And they're just handing it over to me, and
Hmm.
typically for for a reasonable amount, but the terms are, as you know, is crazy because we
Hmm.
we do seller finances and I get some awesome terms, but why would they do that? And it boils down to just building that relationship, building that trust, knowing that when they hand you over their asset, that you can be a steward of you can be a good steward for them,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Because this is like their retirement fund. I mean, I had a seller. He had multiple properties, and I mean, it was his retirement. And I was basically, he's basically handing me over I'm responsible for his retirement. And
Hmm.
and that's kind of brings me to a point where I want to talk about, like, yeah, because when we do seller financing or creative financing, we're dealing directly with the people, right?
Hmm.
And that's why I actually enjoy that more than just going to the bank and just getting a loan, because you're paying an institution, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But what I enjoy is that when I write out that check to the homeowner, I know I'm making a difference in their life. I know that I'm helping funding their retirement. I'm helping funding their kids' education, right? Whatever they do with their money, I know I have a direct impact when I do that.
Hmm.
And so when I'm working with sellers and they've agreed to be creative with me and be my bank, it's a big responsibility for me, because I
Hmm.
know, like, hey, these guys depend on me to make sure that I make the payments, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's and I feel good about that. I was just talking to a seller a couple of days ago, and he's down in Arizona, and and we built this kind of friendship, right? And I talk to him on a monthly basis, see how he's doing. He's an older gentleman, and but he, gets the check from me each month.
Hmm.
So it gives me a good feeling, and the more I do that, it's like the more relationships that I've built, and especially the
Hmm.
ones that are here locally. I mean, I would go, as you know, my wife loves to cook, so we would go. I would drop off, once a quarter. I put it on my to do, like, okay, make sure to drop and see so and so, because it's just stop building that relationship.
Hmm. Yeah. And that relate like people trust you. I think uh like I talk with other real estate agents and we're trying to like go and find deals. And it's like, how do we find deals that Quito finds? And I think it's because people trust you. Like there's been a relationship over a long period of time. People trust you, they know you, and they know that Quito's gonna do what he says.
Right. And that's
Yeah.
the thing too. Like, especially relationships. I mean, even with people lend me their money, right? Be my private money lender. I mean, I tell you, there's some deals that I've done, Jeremy, where I didn't make any money, right?
Hmm.
But but the truth is, it was that relationship was worth more to me than the profits that I would have made, because I want to make
Hmm.
sure that they are a priority, that they get their money back plus whatever interest that I agree with them that they get, that even if I get back nothing, right? And that's
Hmm.
happened several times, and I don't feel bad about it. You know, I feel good that I'm protecting their money. They get a return on
Hmm.
their money, and at the same time, I may not made as much as I thought I would, or made nothing, but I'm also learning and I'm building that relationships. And they say, like, your net worth is your network, right?
Hmm.
How many
Hmm.
people you network with. So just building that, just building that relationship, just building that trust.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Like the more people you know and can build together and do things together and they trust you, you can trust them. You can do a lot
Mhm.
more deals than if it's just you and you yourself alone. Right.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm actually working on there's just a couple of things that I'm working on right now, where I'm buying a property, and it's going to be on seller financing, and it was through an agent. But she asked, "Have you done this before?" So I gave her a list of all the people that I've done business with. I say,
Hmm.
"Here's these people, give them a call." So she called back the other day and says, "Okay, everything looks good. The seller is good with your offer, and I put a lower down payment, more than." less than typically what you would put down.
Hmm.
And even her financial advisor was advising that I put down more money, right? But because of what I was able to establish, from my previous relationships with other sellers, this seller now feels comfortable even taking down the, less of a down payment than what would be typical on a transaction.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, because I know on a transaction for the audience, it's typical to see anywhere from 10 to 20% down, which is
Hmm.
pretty typical. But some of the deals that I do, I mean, I'll do like 3% down, 5% down, and as much as 10% is usually the max that I would put down of the deals that I've done. But for the most part, they're, within 3 to 5% typically.
Hmm.
So if somebody's
Hmm.
like, man, how do you get those? Well, because it's building those relationships, right? Building that trust.
Hmm. Yeah, that's the big difference, right? Huge difference. People trust you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That takes work. That takes a lot of work to do that. It takes time. And it takes
Yeah.
a lot of finagling, not finagling, but a lot of conversation, like you were saying, a lot of talking, a lot of
Hmm. Yeah. And I know
giving.
that you've done some deals too where I mean you've gotten, opportunities because someone trusted with what you've done.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, our
want to
business,
share
we had the business we bought, like a lot of people came to them offering more. Like they had, the money up front, but the seller's like, I just don't trust. Like if someone's asset is something they trust and like they don't want to hand over like your life savings, a business is probably someone's like child. Like they don't want to hand over their child to someone they don't trust. And for us, we got that business because like they trusted us, they knew our background. We built a relationship with them directly, and the broker helped. But like we went to them and talked to them and knew them and told them our story and told them our plans, and they trusted us. And so that was the big difference, that we got that over someone else and did creatively, because they're like, well, we trust you guys more and we want you to have it more than someone else who'd pay us cash. And so that was a big difference. And that's opportunity of doing that helped us acquire the other one too. Is like, hey, we have a background of this, we can trust this, like call these people, right? It's been helpful,
hmm
super helpful.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's so much like, like you said, like in business, it's, even investing, a lot of people think, oh, it's just about numbers. It's about, yes, we could do our underwriting with the numbers, right? Like, figure out how much things are worth and whatnot. But at the end of the day, what it really boils down to is that building that relationship, right? And just building that trust, right? And just having the
Hmm.
network of other people who you could turn to and be an advocate for you, right?
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
think with your, after you acquire your first business, getting that second business was much easier because now you've established yourself, right, as someone
Hmm.
who knows what you're doing, building that trust. And then you had people that would advocate for you. It's like, yeah, we work with Jeremy. He took us over business. He did a great job. He'll do the same for you, right? They become your advocate. And
Hmm.
and that's just so priceless. And that's the thing. Like I want people to, if they can get anything out of this conversation, right, is like it's just that building that trust, right? It's that having that people skills, because that's at the end of the day, we're dealing with people.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I'm even in a situation right now where we've got an offer in on a school building
Hmm.
we've talked about, and there's another offer on the table. And we will see, you know. And I've done what I've I've sent my bio and 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 then luckily one of the architect that we're working with does have a relationship with the agent, so it makes it easier when I submit an offer, right? Like, okay, Quito's going to perform, right?
Hmm.
So we'll see how it goes. I'll keep you guys updated
Yeah.
whether because they did a multiple offer counter, and because it's a school, which is kind of different, everything is public information, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So the advantage is when we submitted our offers, we knew what the first offer was. And then now they review both offers, and now they're simultaneously sent us an offer which we just came in yesterday, so I haven't really got a chance to digest it yet. But we will see. Um,
It's exciting.
yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, it's just building that trust and just having and it opens doors for you, right? Building that relationships, no matter who you work with. And I've always see like other like the vendors you work with, the people you interact with, if you consider them as an extension of your team, right?
Hmm.
They're your team. They can go to bat for you. Like when I, met with his architecture, you know, I mean, now I basically was able to, because of his experience, was able to leverage that, right? And so when I had him talk to the listing agent, right? And so, and that kind of build that trust because they know each other. Like, oh, okay, well, Quito's working with this person, right?
Hmm.
Then because they know each other, it's like, okay, yeah, I'll submit this offer, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So,
Yeah, it's so important. Cool. I'm really excited to see how it works out for you guys. I was talking to
yeah,
Keith
me,
this week, who you're working with, and he's like, "Yeah,
uh,
it's super excited. We'll see what happens." Like, really
yeah,
cool. Really nervous.
yeah. So cool. All right. Well, thanks again, everybody, for joining our our session here. So, continue to follow us on our journey as we share what we're learning and maybe some tips and ideas that will help you grow your business as well. All right,
Yeah,
guys,
absolutely.
thanks.
See you later.